Alrighty. So good good afternoon, good evening, good morning, even if that's when you're watching this. So this is a bit of a different session to what I would normally do, but I think it's really important to help you get a bit of clarity, I suppose, and get a bit of control over what you're doing and the things you want to be able to achieve on the guitar. So I'm just going to close some of these windows because they are distracting me. That's not very good, is it? How unprofessional. Never mind. Please forgive me. Anyway, so this isn't really so much talking about like your guitar practice or anything like that. It's more to do with what you want to get done in terms of goals and if you don't know what your actual goals are, that's absolutely fine. We can help define those for you just by having a simple conversation and just having a chat and working out what it is that you really want to do, what it is you really desire. And that's kind of one of the points I'm going to be talking about in a sec. So, but before we dive into all the heavy stuff, all the deep and meaningful kind of stuff, there's a few areas, there's three very specific areas that I always try to work in when I'm playing, when I'm practicing myself, when I'm teaching. And I'm sure, you already know this, you've already heard me banging on about this before, but there's the three areas. So there's the physical, and there's the mental, and then there's the kind of emotional area. Or another way to look at it would be this. So you've got physical technique. So, how you play the instrument. And then you can look at the mental side of it. So the mental's more like theory. So theory is just an explanation of the sound that you're making. It isn't a rule book to follow. It's literally just someone saying, this is the sound that you're making, and these are the musical terms that we use to describe those sounds. So whether it's like chords, scales, arpeggios, and I would say listening is a huge part of theory, your listening skills, and learning about like musical elements and the structure of music a little bit. That's more to do with theory and ear training. And then the emotional side of it is your personal kind of like style and your creativity and the things that you want to do in that area. So that might be, writing your own songs one day, or improvising guitar solos, or actually just learning other people's styles and studying those. Just messing around with ideas, making a sound and creating variations on exercises, for want of a better term, but exercises and things that I give you to practice. So if I gave you like, I don't know, scales and chords and arpeggios to practice, then I would encourage you, but not expect, but I would encourage you to really explore all those and come up with tons of variations and different ways of playing those sorts of things. So that's just my first point I wanted to get out of the way, really. Like, what are your goals in those three areas? So for technique, it might be, well, to improve my fret hand technique, or if for picking, it might be, to be more accurate or to develop speed or something like that. So try and be sort of as specific as you can and drill down into those three areas. So technique, theory, and creativity. And what do you need to work on? Not just what do you need to work on, but what do you want to work on? What do you actually enjoy practicing? You don't have to divide up your practice session into thirds, for example, to practice those three elements, those three core elements that I'm talking about. You don't have to do that. Some people might find it helpful. Some people find it helpful to chop up their practice time and have, like, say, 10 things they're going to do. in practice, and say they're practicing for an hour, they'll spend exactly 6 minutes on each thing. So that doesn't work for me. And as a little bit of a confession here, I don't like to sit down and just practice ideas or practice theory stuff or technique even now for the sake of just practicing technique. I like to try and be creative. So one thing that I do is I try and combine those elements together in a creative way. So I'm practicing like my technique, I'm learning some new theory stuff or exploring some theory concept, but I'm also being creative when I'm doing it. So that's one thing to consider. That's one thing to think about. Like when you sit down and play, is like, how can you creatively explore those three elements and kind of glue it all together, especially if you're short of practice time. The last thing you want to be doing is going about things in a really structured, linear way. You want to try and do stuff that's going to give you the most bang for your buck in terms of time, but also you want it to be fun. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. That just like trumps everything, it being fun. That is, yeah, for me, that I would say that is the like the ultimate goal, isn't it? I suppose is to for it to be fun. And that's a really common thing that a lot of guitar players sort of fall out of understanding with. They have a misunderstanding that it's supposed to be like a competition, and it's supposed to kind of beat themselves up if they're not making progress. But all the journey is the goal, that kind of thing. Just whatever you're trying to do on guitar, but life in general, I suppose it's good to have goals and things to aim for in the future and all that. But I think it's also really good to be in the present and just work on what you feel like you need to work on. And sometimes the things that you're working on don't turn out to be the things that you really want. So I don't want you kind of going off on a weird and wonderful and utterly useless path that isn't going to bear you the results and stuff you're after. Try and get clear, think about what it is you really want to accomplish. Even ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? Why am I practicing this this particular exercise? Why am I learning this song? Like, if you don't enjoy doing it and it's not getting you further towards your goals, then, or what you want to accomplish, then bin it off. You don't need to do that. So I think that's just a huge thing to remember. Like, it should always be fun. So if you've only got like half an hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes or whatever to practice, it should always be fun. That should be your main goal, is for enjoyment. I mean, that's why you picked up the guitar in the first place, right? Just to have fun. So it helps some people as well to have stuff written down, and I'm a little bit like that sometimes as well. I need that kind of, sometimes I need a little bit of structure, I need a little bit of organizing, especially when I've got tons of stuff I want to work on. So you might be there now thinking, but there is so much that I want to do. There's so much, so many elements of music that I want to do. And it's not quite the same as looking at all the elements of music and guitar. It's a huge topic, isn't it? Learning to play an instrument and learning about music it would take you many lifetimes to master it. So we're not as interested in mastery of something as we are, you being happy and you getting the most out of it. So you need to prioritize what are those things that make you happy, and what are those things that you really want to accomplish. So what's the three most important things? Write those down. And it doesn't hurt to have them written down and put in front of you sometimes, just as a little reminder, I find. So if I suddenly start going off and trying to teach myself some kind of like 8-finger tapping jazz lick just because some dude on the internet said it was cool to do that, I kind of have a word with myself and put myself back on track. And I can honestly say, well, I'm this type of player. I don't need to learn techniques and stuff for the sake of it. I just need to learn this technique or these techniques and this style to be able to play the way I want, whether that's to play songs, covers, whether it's to express yourself through your own music. It's good to have that clarity, because that's always going to put you back on the right path, if you know what I mean. But then you can drill down a little bit more and get even more specific and say, okay, whilst I don't want to spend 6 minutes or however many minutes doing specific exercises, what are the, you know, the 3 things that I could do right now that's going to help me get towards my goal? So again, the reason I'm sort of picking 3 as an arbitrary number is because you don't want to overwhelm yourself, especially like every single session. And sometimes you don't want to be doing the same stuff every session, every week. You can vary it up and change it. You're on a continuum. You're just constantly getting better. It's not about master this in 1 week, master this in 1 week. It doesn't work like that. Same as when you're at secondary school. You don't master, do English in the first year, and then maths in the second year, and science in the third year, or whatever. You are constantly learning new stuff in all those subjects as you progress through your schooling. And then at the end of the practice session, you know, what you should always do is just make sure you end on a high note, not literally, figuratively speaking. You want to make sure that you are having fun and you end on on playing something fun. You don't ever really want to put your guitar down at the end of a session and think, you know, oh, that was a load of shit and I really didn't enjoy that. You don't do that to yourself. Don't leave it on that low note. Low note. Don't leave it like that. Try and end on a positive. Now that said, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit reflective and a little bit analytical about your playing, and obviously I highly encourage everyone to do that. I think you should record your playing. I think you should try and measure your progress in that way as well. Keep the recordings, whether it's video, audio. Listen back to recordings from 3 months ago, and you'll see and hear the progress. And I think that's super important. But yeah, back to your individual practice session. You're sat there and you finished. You could always write down, okay, what can I do better next time? How can I improve on that? There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not beating yourself up over stuff, because that is just not going to, it's not going to be conducive to you wanting to pick up the instrument and play. Don't get down about it. Don't beat yourself up over stuff. It's supposed to be fun, remember. So yeah, that's how you could approach one practice session. You want to kind of use your practice sessions to figure out what you want to practice next as well. So I'm not explaining that very well. So give me just 1 second just to get my thoughts together and have a little sip of water. Bear with me 1 sec. Right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Right, so going back to practicing, you want to sort of take notes of like the previous practice session, if you like, mental notes, or you physically write it down and kind of ask yourself how it went. And you want to, again, don't beat yourself up about this, but you want to have some kind of idea on how you can improve it in the future. And measuring your progress, or some stuff like speed is really quantifiable because it's numbers on the metronome, isn't it? It's numbers on a scorecard kind of thing. But a lot of general stuff to do with you making progress is a little bit harder to pin down. So let's talk about what you can do to kind of not get motivated, because I really don't like that term. I don't like that term. We're going beyond like getting motivated here. You want to get like passionate. You want to be able, you want to be able to do the stuff you want to do and play the way you want to play. And that doesn't come from just going, oh, I've really got to drag myself over to my guitar to play it today. It doesn't come from that, but there's some ways you can definitely get fired up and inspired, and think about ways that works for you. So one of the most common ways that I recommend is obviously making a list of songs that you want to play, that you want to learn, or even just, even if you're a bit like me and you're like, well, I'm not that fussed about learning like other people's songs and that anymore. I want to kind of work on my own stuff. It doesn't matter. Make some kind of playlist where, it's all the stuff you love, all the stuff that got you into guitar, all the stuff that kind of got you fired up in the first place, all the stuff you listened to when you were young and you first sort of got into music, and listen to that and kind of immerse yourself in that feeling, and then you'll be kind of in the right kind of mindset to want to learn and play that kind of stuff, because it's cool and it's awesome. It's what you want to do. And then you can make a separate list if you want to, of like songs that you want to learn. So if that's one of your goals, I want to, or I want to be able to play like these guitarists, or I want to learn all of this band's back catalogue or this entire album, or whatever it is, it's up to you. It's entirely up to you. Or it could even be like a riff list, really cool 100 riffs or something like that, whatever it is. And you will make that list. So it's free to 30 songs. I don't care. It could be however many songs you want to learn, and then get to work. So you can practice songs like every time you pick up a guitar. You can practice these riffs every time you pick up a guitar, which I kind of recommend, or have at least 1 or 2 sessions a week where you're just doing that kind of thing. Now, when it comes to practicing things like technique and theory, use your noodling, use your practice session to help you determine what it is that you need to work on. So when you have an idea about what needs to be fixed, you can sort of say to yourself, well, I think I need to work on this. And again, be honest, be objective, but don't beat yourself up about it. We're all learning all the time. So if you don't know what needs fixing, that's fine. That's what I'm here for. So send me recordings, videos of you playing, and I'll happily analyze it and critique it, if you like, and get back to you with some honest feedback and some helpful advice on how you can improve it, on that kind of thing. One of the other things I'm going to talk about is habit. I might have to do like a separate video about that, because this is one thing that I'm kind of still learning about it myself as well, if I'm being completely honest, about the almost like the science behind building habits and stuff. But the one thing I would say is you want to become the type of person, if this means something to you and it's important, then make it like a daily habit. So have it on your to-do list every single day. But if you only pick up the guitar for 5 minutes and play, that still counts. So you've completed that habit for the day. If you pick it up for 2 minutes and play, it still counts. But you want to tell your mind, your whatever, you want to tell yourself, you want to trick yourself basically, and say, I'm the kind of person that practices guitar every day, because technically you have. All right, you might not accomplish very much in 2 minutes, but at least you're the sort of person that does that. And I bet there's been times when you picked up the guitar and thought, I'll just do 5 minutes, but then you've always ended up doing more. So yeah, that's super important. But like I said, habits and motivation and all that stuff, I'm going to talk about that in future sessions, I think. And I'm going to talk to like the group of everyone about this kind of stuff, and other individuals as well. So we can go through that one. But set yourself like this is something that's really helpful for some guys and girls as well, is to set yourself like a project, a goal that you want to accomplish in 90 days. And I'm gonna go out on a bit of a limb here, and I'm going to say, try to do something that's a little bit beyond what you think you're capable of. So set yourself a real challenge. So you could be quite a difficult song that you're going to learn in 90 days. You might spend like every day and all your practice time like working towards that goal, and that's absolutely fine. Again, you're trying to reinforce those those good habits and get into that way of practicing. And if the song seems impossible, even better. So if you set yourself a goal to be able to play, like, I don't know, I'll just use an example that's really common and obviously really cool, because they're the coolest band in the world, and I'm completely biased. But say you wanted to learn like Metallica, Master of Puppets all the way through the entire song or the entire album, if you wanted to learn something like that, or the Black Album, if if you're feeling it, that might be a bit of a stretch for you. But anyway, doesn't matter. You're going to challenge yourself to learn those songs or learn that particular song in 90 days. That's achievable, but I'm sure that a lot of people would think, shit, that's impossible. That's really hard. But it doesn't matter because you're going to work towards doing it. So you're going to make a hell of a lot more progress working towards a goal, whether it's impossible or not, if you just take action. So don't be the sort of person that sits there and goes, well, that's impossible, I ain't going to do that. Or I've only got 5 minutes to practice today instead of an hour, which is ideal. There will never be a best time for you to practice. There will never be an ideal situation. I want you to become the sort of, player that just does it. You just do stuff. You just take action, consistent action. That's it. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm encouraging you to do. It's all I'm trying to get you ready and prepped for, for real life kind of guitar playing, whatever it doesn't matter. Again, whatever your goals are, it doesn't matter. So yeah, coming back to the main kind of thing that's going to help drive you along, and that's desire is what you want to do. What is the thing, if you could name it in as one thing, what would be the one thing that you really want to be able to do on guitar? Like, forget about if it's impossible or not. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have to shut your eyes and think about this for a second. I want you to really want it. I don't want you to need lessons. I don't want you to need, I need to do this. I want you to want this thing that you want in the first place, and then we're going to work towards it. So that's what I would say. And I think if you can get a little bit of clarity on what it is that you really want to do, well, I know that if you have clarity on what you want to do, you have some sort of, clear idea in your head, I'm not bullshitting, you can do it. You can absolutely do it, because 99% of this stuff is in your mind. And obviously, your mind, your brain has to tell your hands what to do. But all the barriers towards what we want to do is basically created in our mind, unless you've got some kind of like physical limitation, which obviously people do. But people find ways around it, don't they? So yeah, warm up your mind before your fingers. I'm sure you've heard me saying that before. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on the subject for today. I might do a separate video on like really specific kind of practice tips and techniques and stuff if enough people kind of ask and they want me to consolidate some kind of list together on that, I'd happily do that. I kind of don't want to end it just on that one there, but I would just say, obviously I want you to believe in yourself, and you will absolutely be able to do what it is you want to do. It just takes that focus and that consistency and that action. But before all that, it's kind of about getting in a good feeling and getting in a good state, and that is informed by what you tell yourself you can do. So I want you to tell yourself that you can do it, and obviously you're in the right place to train yourself, as well as be open to being taught what you need to know to play the way you want. That seems like a really, really good place to end it. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope you feel fired up and inspired just by listening to my terrible monotone voice telling you what to do. And I hope you have a productive practice session soon. Take care. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.